The forest around Blackwood territory smelled of smoke and pine that night, and every wolf who caught the scent on the wind knew something important was happening. Torches lined the ceremonial clearing. Long tables sat heavy, with food nobody had touched yet. Musicians tuned their instruments near the old oak tree, waiting for the signal to begin. It was the night Alpha Damian Cole would take a new Luna, and the entire pack had gathered to watch him do it. Elena Voss was not supposed to be there. 3 years earlier, she had walked out of Blackwood territory in the middle of the night, with nothing but a torn dress, a small bag of clothes, and a heart that felt like it had been cut in half. She had promised herself she would never come back, yet here she was, standing at the tree line, watching the pack she once loved prepare to crown someone else in her place. Beside her stood Cale Draven, a prince from the Ashcliff pack far to the north. He was calm in a way that made people trust him instantly, with steady eyes and broad shoulders that seemed built for carrying other people's burdens. He had traveled 2 days to be at her side tonight, not because he wanted to cause trouble, but because he refused to let her face this moment alone. "You do not have to do this," Cale said quietly, his breath forming small clouds in the cool night air. "We can turn around right now. No one has seen us yet." "I know," Elena said. Her voice was steady, though her hands were not. "But if I do not do this now, I will spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I had stayed silent." Cale studied her face for a long moment, then nodded. He did not try to change her mind again. He simply straightened his jacket and stood a little closer to her, so she would know she was not facing the night by herself. Inside the clearing, Damian Cole stood at the center of everything, dressed in the deep green colors of the Blackwood Alpha line. He had grown taller in the years since Elena had known him, or maybe it was the weight on his shoulders that made him seem larger. His eyes moved over the crowd out of habit, the way an alpha always watches his pack, but there was something hollow in them tonight, something the wolves closest to him had noticed for weeks, but had been too afraid to mention. Beside him stood Marissa Hale, dressed in white, her dark hair braided with small white flowers. She smiled at the crowd, confident and poised, the daughter of one of the pack's oldest families. She had been chosen months ago by Damian's father, the retired Alpha, who believed the pack needed strong alliances more than it needed sentiment. Marissa had accepted the arrangement without complaint. She was practical that way. The ceremony began. An elder wolf named Rowan stepped forward with a small silver ring, the traditional mark of a Luna's binding. He spoke the old words about loyalty, protection, and the joining of 2 lines for the good of the pack. The crowd listened respectfully, though a few of the older wolves exchanged glances. They remembered another ceremony, 3 years before, when Damian had stood in this same spot with someone else entirely. Damian took the ring from Rowan's palm. His fingers were steady, but his jaw was tight, the muscle working beneath his skin, the way it always did, when he was holding something back. He reached for Marissa's hand. That was the moment the wind shifted. It was a small thing, barely noticeable to the humans who might have been watching, but every wolf in that clearing felt it instantly. A new scent drifted through the trees, one that many of them had not smelled in 3 years but still remembered perfectly. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through the crowd like water disturbed by a stone. Even the musicians stopped playing, their instruments falling silent one by one. Damian went still. His hand, still holding the ring, hovered in the air between himself and Marissa. Something in his chest twisted so suddenly that he nearly lost his breath. He knew that scent. He had spent 3 years trying to forget it, and yet it took less than a second to recognize it now. Elena stepped out from the tree line. She did not rush. She did not hesitate. She walked into the clearing with her head high and her shoulders back, the firelight catching the edges of her dark red dress. Cale walked beside her, close enough to show he stood with her, far enough to make clear this was her moment, not his. The crowd parted instinctively, the way a pack always makes room for something it does not fully understand yet. "Elena," Damian said. Her name came out rough, almost broken, as if speaking it cost him something. Marissa's smile faltered for the first time all evening. She looked between Elena and Damian, and something in her expression suggested she had always known this moment might come, even if she had hoped it never would. "I am not here to stop the wedding," Elena said, her voice carrying clearly across the silent clearing. I did not come to make a scene or beg for something that is no longer mine to ask for. I came because I owe this pack the truth, and because I owe myself the chance to finally say what I was never allowed to say 3 years ago. Damien's mother, seated near the front, pressed a hand to her mouth. His father, the retired alpha, rose halfway from his seat before sitting back down, his face unreadable. 3 years ago, Elena continued, I left this pack because I was told I was not fit to be Luna. I was told my family did not have the right connections, that my blood was not strong enough, that a mate bond meant nothing when weighed against the good of the pack. I was young, and I believed the people who told me this, because one of those people was the man I loved, and he did not correct them. Damien flinched as if she had struck him. I am not blaming you for everything, Damien, Elena said, softer now, though her eyes never left his. You were young too, and your father's word was law, but you let me walk away without a single word to stop me. You let me believe the bond between us meant less to you than the approval of people who barely knew me. The clearing was utterly silent now. Even the fire seemed to burn quieter, as if the whole forest was listening. I have spent 3 years building a new life, Elena said. I found people who valued me for who I am, not for what family I came from. Prince Kael and his pack took me in when I had nowhere else to go, and they never once made me feel like I needed to prove myself worthy of kindness. I am not the same woman who left this territory in the middle of the night. I am stronger now. I am whole, in ways I did not know I could be. She paused, letting her words settle over the crowd. But I could not let you complete this ceremony without knowing the truth. The mate bond between us was never broken, Damien. Bonds like ours do not simply disappear because 2 people stop speaking to each other. I have felt it every day for 3 years, a small ache I could never quite explain, and I know you have felt it too. I can see it in your face right now. Damien's hand, still holding the silver ring, trembled visibly. He looked at Marissa, whose expression had turned careful and guarded, and then back at Elena, his eyes filled with something that looked almost like grief. She is right, he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper, though it carried in the silence. I have felt it every single day. I told myself it was memory, or habit, or guilt. I told myself it would fade eventually. It never did. Marissa slowly pulled her hand back from his. She was not crying, and she did not look surprised, only tired, as if she had been carrying the weight of this truth for longer than anyone realized. Damien, she said quietly, I agreed to this because I believed it was good for the pack, and because I believed you had made peace with your past. I did not agree to spend my life standing beside a man whose heart belongs to someone else. A murmur spread through the crowd again, but this time it was different, filled with something closer to understanding than shock. Elena stepped forward, just enough to be heard clearly by everyone present, but not close enough to close the distance between herself and Damien. I did not come here tonight to reclaim anything, she said. I am not asking you to stop this wedding for my sake. I have my own life now, my own place among the Ashcliff pack, and people who care for me deeply. She glanced briefly at Kael, who met her eyes with quiet steadiness. I came because a Luna built on a bond that was never true is a Luna built on a foundation that will eventually crack. This pack deserves a leader who is honest with himself and with the people who trust him. And you, Damien, deserve the chance to stop carrying a regret that has clearly been eating away at you for years. Damien looked down at the ring in his hand as if seeing it for the first time. When he looked up again, something in his face had changed, as though a weight he had carried for 3 years had finally been named out loud. I am sorry, he said, and though the words were simple, everyone in the clearing understood the depth behind them. I am sorry I let you walk away that night. I am sorry I chose silence over standing up for what I knew was true. I have regretted it every single day since. I know, Elena said gently, and I forgive you, Damien. Truly I do. But forgiveness does not mean going backward. It means we can both finally move forward, honestly this time. She turned to Marissa. I am sorry this truth came out tonight, in front of everyone, in the worst possible way. You deserve a mate who chooses you completely, without any part of his heart looking elsewhere. Marissa nodded slowly, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "Thank you for saying that," she said. "I think, somewhere inside, I always knew there was something unfinished between you two. I just hoped it would not matter." The elder, Rowan, still holding the ceremonial words in his memory, looked to Damien for guidance on how to proceed. Damien set the silver ring gently on the small table beside him. "There will be no ceremony tonight," he announced to the pack, his voice steadier now than it had been in weeks. "I owe this pack better leadership than a bond built on convenience. I owe myself the chance to be honest about what I have been avoiding for 3 years. Whatever comes next, it will not begin with a lie." The crowd did not erupt into chaos, as one might expect. Instead, a quiet kind of respect settled over the clearing, the sort that comes when people witness someone choosing difficult honesty over easy comfort. Elena felt Cale's hand find hers, warm and steady, a small anchor in the middle of everything that had just unfolded. She looked at him, and he gave her the smallest of nods, a silent reminder that whatever happened next in Blackwood territory was no longer something she needed to carry alone. "Thank you for coming with me tonight," she said quietly, only for him to hear. "I would not have let you face this by yourself," Cale answered. "Not for anything." Elena turned back toward the crowd one final time. Her eyes found Damien's across the clearing, and for a moment, 3 years of silence passed between them, without a single word needing to be spoken. "Goodbye, Damien," she said. "I hope you find the honesty and peace you have been missing. Whatever you decide now, I hope it finally brings you rest." She did not wait for a response. She turned, and with Cale beside her, walked back toward the tree line, back toward the life she had built for herself, far from Blackwood territory. Behind her, the fire continued to burn, and the pack she once called home was left to sit with a truth it could no longer ignore. Elena did not look back as she walked into the darkness of the forest. She had said everything she needed to say. Whatever Damien chose to do with that truth now belonged to him, not to her. For the first time in 3 years, she felt the last thread of an old bond finally settle into something quiet and complete, not because it demanded a happy reunion, but because honesty itself had set her free. Somewhere behind her, she heard the pack beginning to murmur among themselves, voices rising and falling like a slow tide returning to shore. She did not need to hear what they said. She only needed to know that she had walked into that clearing with the truth, and walked out of it with her own peace intact. Cale's hand tightened gently around hers as they moved deeper into the trees, the sounds of Blackwood territory fading behind them with every step. Ahead lay the road back to Ashcliff, back to the life she had built with people who had chosen her simply because she was herself. And for Elena, that was enough. It was, finally, more than enough.